Rodellcast. My name is Julia Zamith, and I'm the Policy and Advocacy Manager here at Rodell. Today we're going to be talking about multilingual learners in Delaware. I'm here with our guests from Cape Henlopen High School, LASO, so Latin American Student Organization leaders. They're going to tell us about their student-led organization, LASO, and how that organization is helping multilingual learner students navigate their educational journeys here in Delaware. So if you guys could introduce yourselves a little bit more and talk about your involvement and your role at LASO, that would be great. Catherine, we'll start with you and then we can come around.
I'm Catherine. I'm 16 years old and I'm the treasurer of LASO.
My name is Felipe. I'm president of LASO. I've been president for 2 years now.
Hi, my name is Stefania Becker. I am a Spanish teacher here at Cape Henlopen High School, and I am one of the advisors for the Latin American Student Organization.
What kind of inspired you guys to join this group as individually? So, if you could tell us a little bit more
So
about
a friend, when I first came to the high school, a friend told me, come to a meeting. It's really cool. There's food and stuff. And I said yes, and I fell in love with the club ever since. And I was really inspired to run for leadership following COVID and just seeing the numbers of the club drop. And I really wanted to get it started again.
Yeah, for me it was my ELL teacher back then. She was like, do you want to join LASO? We help other Hispanic students here. I was like, yeah, sure, I love that. And then I went to the meeting and I fell in love. It was really cool. There was a lot of people there and it was really welcoming.
And so what kind of events or kind of services or community activities do you guys do at LASO?
Yeah, so on a school-wide level, we have meetings every single month. And these meetings are a chance for, the students to come in and just get all the updates for the club, what we are doing this month, opportunities in the community. And on top of that, we have a cultural event almost every month. We had a huge event for Dia de los Muertos. We also volunteer a lot, and that's been a big focus of mine as president, has been to make this a service club as well as a cultural club. We give bilingual tours to newcomers and to MLL families. We have the school announcements in Spanish as well as English, so bilingual for MLL students and bilingual students.
Yeah, and we also offer tutoring every other Wednesday in Spanish. I think that's really helpful for other students that don't know English here.
We have partnerships with Milton Elementary School, a project that I started with the English language specialist there, Jackie Wager. So we facilitate her program. She runs the Latino Family Literacy Project, and we watch the children while the parents are in the classroom learning English. And also we've been district-wide talking with administrators and just seeing how we can make this district more inclusive to our ML learners and also to Latino students.
Stefania, to bring you into the conversation, how did you meet Felipe and Catherine?
Well, I had the pleasure at the beginning of the school year to meet Felipe. He came to me and asked if I was willing to be an advisor for the LASO club, and of course, I didn't know they didn't have an advisor, so I was happy to help. I've been teaching Spanish. I'm working with the Hispanic community for 27 years, so I thought I could contribute to the organization. Also, Miss Lisa Williams, she's our bilingual social worker. She joined us, and we started the process. At the beginning, there were like 30 students that were interested, where we have 18% of the population. You knew that was going to grow right away. And right now they have, is it 180 students?
It's 180.
In the club. Our meetings are incredible. We are very busy.
I would love to hear more about kind of what inspired you guys individually to dig into this kind of service and advocacy kind of mindset.
Well, yeah, for me it was because I really wanted to help other students that came to this country just like me, because when I was in middle school, when I came here, nobody was there to help me, and I wanted to be there for other people to help them and not go through the things I went through when I came here. Yeah.
So I do see it. I have like a different perspective on this because I was born here. My parents were immigrants, so for me that's a big thing. Is that before I was born, they struggled to learn English, And I really didn't get to see that, but I understood it later on, and I do want to help my community and give back.
So I came here 5 years ago, November 2018. So my dad went to school and they didn't have any translators. And my dad didn't know a lot of English, so it was really difficult for him. Overall, I think it took him about 2 weeks to 1 week and a half to get me just enrolled into the school. And I think that wasn't necessary. They should have translators in school. And which is why we also are advocating and we talked to the district about this because we don't have translators in school. And then I had a lot of struggle because of the language, of course. It was like a huge challenge for me. I didn't know any other words other than okay, thank you, yes and no. And thankfully, the only good thing they did was they put me with another student and she helped me out. Other than her and my ELL teacher, there wasn't any help for me. I didn't understand how to use the iPads. Back in my country, I didn't have any of that. Like my teachers barely had a whiteboard and a marker. And then I came here and like they had the iPads and what's that called?
Smartboard.
The smart board. I don't know. Like I was so confused when I entered that classroom. And then I got my iPad the next week. And nobody was there to help me how and teach me how to use the school G, because that's what we use here. I had to figure out myself. And it was hard. You had me there in my house looking in YouTube, searching up how to use school G, because nobody was there to help me and guide me how to use it. So yeah, it was really hard. I think I'm proud of all I went through because look at me now.
Yes.
My English is better, not the greatest, but I'm keep working on it. And well, all I want to do now is help others.
Some of the life experiences they have gone through when they come here, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of regressing on their growth and development, and just being here to support them, and them knowing that they can be safe in a school that Cape is an amazing school district, and we want to give them those supports. You have teachers that without having any training, they are trying to figure out how they're going to provide an education to newcomers, and they, for the most part, whatever they learn special ed, they provide those services as of accommodations, giving them more opportunities, or breaking things down, like maybe scaffolding materials for them. But every single educator wants to do and give more. We just don't have the training or the budget.
Last month, we held an education equity series event around funding up in Dover, and you guys were some of the students that were represented there. LASO was pretty much the only student organization that was represented there. I'd love to hear more about your experience, what you learned, any connections you guys were able to make, and kind of how you've brought that back to LASO and some of your work.
Last month, like you were saying, we went to the Vision Coalition event in Dover, and for us it was really eye-opening because we don't get that type of instruction here about the funding system and how it works, and then hear kind of different perspectives on it from different leaders in the education community. So that was really great for us. It was great to meet the Secretary of Education. I've never met him before, but it was nice to see him. There was a lot of important people there, so it was nice to go there and to be heard and also listen. And that's important for us. And we've definitely brought that back here and shared it with our other members. And we've also kind of thought about ways to work on the funding system and how to better represent MLL learners, because right now they're often excluded from the conversation, and so bringing them into the conversation is a really important piece for us.
Yeah, for me it was exciting, I will say, to learn about how the budget is shared between the students and all that, and how every ELL student gets some of the money.
So when they came back from the Rodell event, they had a lot of questions for me that I couldn't answer really. And I think it's for them to understand that the district wants the best for every student, okay? But but the district doesn't have all the resources. And looking at numbers, right, and looking that there are districts, not in Delaware, but in other states, like if you go to Maryland, or you go to Pennsylvania, you go to Virginia, they have 10 times the budget to support the MLL population. Why is that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So, Delaware has a unit-based or resource-based system. The system was established back in the 1940s. And so what it does is it uses ratios to generate teachers, basically. So the funding kind of follows the adults. So I think it's about 20 kids equals 1 adult. There are lower ratios for special education, but at the time that this system was created, there wasn't really a concern or a built-in for multilingual learners or for students from low-income backgrounds. So back in 2020, a lawsuit was filed against the state. It was settled, and so that led to what is now known as opportunity funding. And so opportunity funding is basically a pot of money that is allocated per student for multilingual learners and for students from low-income backgrounds. Currently, it's roughly about $600 a student. It's growing, but obviously it's still not enough. States like Maryland or Pennsylvania, they have student-based systems. So what they use is they have a base per student that every student will get. It varies per state, anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000, just base amount per student. And then they put a weight to that for additional needs. So they'll put a weight for special education, they'll put a weight for multilingual learners, they'll put a weight for students from low-income backgrounds, and that weight will be anywhere from an additional 25% of that base to an additional 225% of that base. So when you look at Maryland, they double their base amount for multilingual learners.
Yeah, so this area, Sussex County and the Cape Henlopen district in particular, we've experienced a lot of growth in the Hispanic population in the last 10 years, but more importantly in the last 2 years since COVID. It's really gone up, and we have people coming in every single month, and every single year we have a lot of MLL students coming in who need services. And for us, that kind of need was definitely seen in this high school, because we had people coming to us saying that they don't know what they're doing, they're getting lost in classes, that they don't feel the support coming from the teachers. So just to gauge that, we put out a survey, and the results were pretty shocking. Many students feel like they're not supported. And more importantly, we looked at the dropout rate, and half of the dropouts at the high school are Hispanic. So there is a huge need, because that's not equal to our population. It's not right. So.
And I wanted to ask you, because at the beginning of the school year, we were offered the possibility to get credentials to work with the MLL population, but only few teachers were able to join the program because they have like a cap number. Is it something that the state of Delaware is working on, creating more opportunities for educators so that we can work with the multilingual learners?
Yeah, so I can't speak for the state, but I can say that the University of Delaware did get a grant through the federal government to create that program. So this is a program that is designed to basically allow teachers and paraprofessionals to get credentials in English as a second language. They have 3 cohorts that they're doing. They're doing kind of a research project alongside that. They only had 75 slots. They had 270 applicants. So there are teachers that want to do this and that want to get these credentials. There's not enough incentive or support for these teachers to get these credentials. So what we want to see is more of these incentives, scholarships, supports for teachers who want to get these credentials, who want to support our multilingual learners.
Yeah, here at Cape, I mean, for a little bit of that, I know, we working for a few years already, trying to recruit our own students, getting them prepared, students that want to be educators, telling them, become paraprofessionals, we support you, you go to school, you can come here to do your school teaching, student teaching, and then become part of our community because we don't produce them in the state of Delaware, and I'm so happy that that is happening, and that is something that has been happening for years.
I have another question. So one of the questions I asked at the Rodell Summit was, how do we kind of make sure that this opportunity funding is actually going towards the students in need, where we're seeing the need? My question is, why is it so hard in Delaware specifically to find numbers and statistics? Because what I was told was that they do audits, and I didn't see any audits when you look it up. It's hard to find, and the stuff, it's just not really, it's not easy to find, and it's all confusing, and it's not really useful stuff.
A couple of things. So first, why can we track if that opportunity funding is actually going to the students? Unfortunately, we can't. Schools will submit a plan, and then we just kind of have to assume that they're following the plan that they submit. But there isn't really a tracking on the back end. Unfortunately, not a lot of states do that at all, because it's a little bit more difficult to kind of get that line item budget from a school. In terms of why the data is kind of confusing or not readily available, it kind of goes back to what I had mentioned earlier, that a lot of it just isn't collected or isn't collected in order to be publicly available. So another thing that we are going to be hopefully working on, and that a couple of other states do, are comprehensive data reports. So states like Illinois and Ohio have recently passed legislation that requires a kind of laundry list of data points to be made available in an annual report, that we are kind of hoping that we can get Delaware to get on that kind of level, and we can get that data more readily available so we can offer more of those supports, and so we can be more transparent in who our MLLs are and how we're supporting them. So I'd love to hear about some of the good things you guys are seeing being done for our multilingual learner students.
Yeah, I think at Cape, they have been trying to hire more people that are certified to work with the multilingual learners, and we could see that in the high school. We had one teacher for many years, and now we have three. These three people teach their classes, but they also support in other content areas, and you can see that is going to make an impact on the kids' success in school. And the beginning of the year, it was offered to many of us, to be certified as, to work with MLL, and that's something that if we can get, X amount of people every year to be certified, we're definitely going to make an impact on on this group's education.
I know that some of the teachers here in the school are giving the content to the ELL students in Spanish. So I think that's really good. That way they can understand what everybody is doing, but in their in Spanish.
Yeah, so I think to expand on that, what would you like educators to know, administrators to know, policymakers to know about what supports multilingual learner students need, and what should they be prioritizing when they're looking at those? Felipe, since you started, we can start with you.
I really think that teachers should speak up when they see something isn't right. Like if they have a class that's already full, the classes here, some of them are 30, 32, 33 people, They really pack those classes, and sometimes you see half the class classified as MLL, because that's the tendency, is that they just put everyone in the same group. And the teacher should really be speaking up and saying, well, I need more. If you're going to have that many MLLs, well, we're going to need like a paraprofessional who's trained as an ML, who's bilingual, who can help out with these types of things. Because what you're seeing is that they're relying on other students, who have their own classes to do. Because I remember when I was in 6th grade, there was a newcomer who came to this country, and I had to kind of drop whatever I was doing and basically teach for her, because the teacher didn't speak Spanish and he had his own thing going on. So really we need more professionals in the classroom. And what I'll say though, from an administrative and legislative standpoint, is that being bilingual isn't a disability. You know, it's useful, and that shouldn't be, because I think the focus is often, well, they need to learn English, but we also need to keep that Spanish because it's really important, especially in a state like Delaware where we're growing so much with our MLs, with our Latinos, that we need those professionals. We need teachers, we need paraprofessionals, we need legal professionals, we need, you know, doctors, nurses. There's such a need for this population that's growing, and that need's not being met with education, because often you see this pipeline of people are dropping out, that they're not doing something that could benefit the community, like from a professional standpoint. So I think it's important to kind of foster the bilingualism and also encourage the students to go to college, because what they're saying, what a lot of the policy is, well, if they're coming here at the beginning of a high school, what can we do in 4 years? Well, you can do a lot in 4 years. And a lot of schools just push people out and just, well, let's just graduate them. But the focus should really be, well, let's get them ready for college so that they can help the community here.
I think that I would love teachers to understand that every ML student has a background, and they all have different traumas, and they all want to learn, but like I said, they have traumas, so it's hard for them. I would love them to understand and help them.
Throughout the years, you see that as they become bilingual, they score higher on SAT scores to go to college. They process better than a monolingual person. So I just think we need to provide the services they need to make them be successful and productive.
Absolutely. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. I've loved hearing all of your stories and all of your ideas and all of the great work you guys are doing. Thank you so much for being on the Rodell podcast. If anyone wants to find out more about data and our multilingual learners or our funding system, you can check out the Rodell website.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.